Hello again, World Civilizations class. As we begin our new unit on Greece, we're going to take a look at pre-classical Greece, the roots of Greek civilization, which can be found in Minoan Crete and Mycenaean Greece. So that will be our topic for today. Let's look at our goals. First, to identify early civilizations of ancient Greece, and to be able to describe the culture of Minoan Crete and Mycenaean Greece. For your vocabulary today, you must know who the Minoans are. We'll try to identify King Minos, a fresco, two writing systems, Linear A and Linear B, and lastly, the Mycenaeans. So let's get started. This is our map of the area of the world we are studying, the Greek peninsulas, which you mapped in class, or will map in class. You see the Mycenaean civilization, which really develops a little bit after Minoans, and then Minoans on the island of Crete, and we'll figure out what happened to them in a moment. So let's start with Minoan Crete. Develops around 2800 BCE as a civilization with all those hallmarks of civilization. It flourishes between about 2000 and 1450 BCE, and it's named for the legendary King Minos. Mythology tells us that King Minos was the son of Zeus and imprisoned a minotaur in a labyrinth under his palace. But in reality, he was probably just based on a strong king from the Minoan civilization. So we see here the palace of King Minos at Knossos in Crete. Life in the civilization. Well, basically, they had very skillful sailors. Being on an island and being in the Mediterranean, they traded with the civilizations around them, especially with Egypt, southern Greece, Syria, and Mesopotamia. So they had skilled craftsmen, as you can see, by the fresco painted on the wall and in the artwork here. They did have a system of writing. It was called Linear A, but we have yet to decipher Linear A. It was, of course, elaborate art on vases, and of course, frescoes. And frescoes were painted by putting painting kind of on wet plaster surfaces on walls. And so we have these examples of fresco paintings, not just in Crete, but in Greece and throughout Europe. It's still a process that can be done nowadays. But you see this image of the bull appearing on one of the most famous frescoes, and then also the same motif appearing on pottery from the time. Now the palaces, of course, there were elaborate palaces all over Crete. They were influenced by Egyptian, Syrian, and Mesopotamian art and design, so they're very similar to what we see elsewhere. Excuse me. They do have indoor plumbing, and art abounds. They're found all over these palaces, especially frescoes, as you see in this picture. But in Minoan Crete, they really didn't have fortifications, which could have led to the downfall of the civilization. Here is the palace at Knossos, an aerial view to the left, and a recreation of what it may have looked like on the right. Here's some more images from that palace at Knossos. A throne room to the left, art found in the frescoes of the walls throughout the palace. So how did Minoan Crete meet its end around 1450 BCE? Well, one theory is that of a natural disaster, a volcano perhaps, maybe causing a tidal wave, wiping out these coastal cities, maybe the volcano causing the destruction of much of the island. But most likely it was an invasion from a group of people from the Greek peninsula called the Mycenaeans. And that's who we're going to turn our attention to now. Mycenaean Greece is named for Mycenae, a city, state in Greece, which flourished between about 1600 and 1100 BCE. It was made up of powerful monarchies, a warrior people. They prided themselves on their accomplishments in war. We know about this civilization through the epics of Homer and archaeology, things that we will be talking about tomorrow, and you will see in the video from Mr. Guilford. As far as the culture, a lot of Mycenaean culture was borrowed, not just from the Minoans, but from societies all around the Mediterranean: Egyptians, Syrians, Phoenicians, etc. So they borrowed ideas with palaces, how they set up their economy, their system of government, um, and of course their writing system was borrowed from Minoan. We call it Linear B, and yes, it is deciphered. Lots of pots are found throughout the realm, so we have these like examples of elaborate pots which most likely contained wine or olive oil that could have been traded. And they, like the Minoans, traded throughout the Mediterranean. Here is an aerial view of Mycenae, which you have an artist's recreation of on the right. You can see the outline of cities, so it's a pretty faithful recreation of what the city may have looked like through 3,500 years ago. So the decline of the civilization, what happened? Well, we do know that there was a lot of fighting between cities in the civilization, as we'll talk about later. But it's also believed that possibly a series of earthquakes could have caused damage to the infrastructure, which could have led to either more fighting or just a weakness in the civilization. And then we see new Greek-speaking invaders from the north come down into Mycenaean Greece. So all these combinations kind of lead to an end of this really ancient Greece era, beginning of a dark ages, which will eventually lead us into the classical Greek civilization that we think of with Sparta and Athens. Go back and make sure that you review the vocabulary for today's lesson. Make sure that you are looking, you put that in your digital notebook, and that you can correctly identify these cultures and describe a little bit about Minoan Crete and Mycenaean Greece. Have a wonderful day.